And now break that down because the jury really took Sean Kelly's they really analyzed Sean Kelly's testimony, and I think their conviction is based on that, right?
Well, I don't think it's just based on Sean Kelly's testimony. They added Sean Kelly's testimony was probably one of the icings on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's a lot of other evidence that you can't ignore that lean towards guilt.
Like
For example, the shooting happens at 4:18 a.m. 5 minutes after the shooting, at 4:23, Kelsey Harris is texting Megan's security, and they have that text, and that text says, "Help 911. Tory shot Meg." This is 5 minutes after the shooting. So you have to be able to explain why the heck would Kelsey send this text message 5 minutes after the shooting, unless you believe Kelsey Harris is trying to set Tory Lanez up within 5 minutes.
mind you, I'm just trying to be for the people. Mind you, everybody is drunk. Now, do you think her being intoxicated could have had something to do with it? Hey, fuck it, it's Tory shot her.
Well, when she was asked, when she testified in trial, she was asked about that text because when she testified, she's denied everything, but she couldn't deny the text. So they asked her, "Why did you send this text?" And her answer was, "I just panicked. I just panicked. I was assuming." That's what she said. "I was assuming and I panicked." So you have to sit there as a juror and think to yourself, is that a good enough answer to explain why you just text Megan Thee Stallion security that Tory just shot Meg?
Wow. What other examples do you have?
Well, they played the telephone call that Tory Lanez made to Kelsey while he was still in jail.
Okay.
While he was still in jail, and it was full of apologies. I was drunk. I would have never did that. I know Megan is probably never ever gonna talk to me again. Um, this is not the way this is not the way I move. So of course the prosecution is saying he's apologizing for that shooting, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he never says shooting, but he is apologizing from the bottom of his heart for something that happened.
Now let me. I have to play devil's advocate. Um, he could have been apologizing for starting the fight because it was kind of like he kind of started with, "Hey, Megan or Kelsey, aren't you going to tell her that we're?" He basically was smashing the two girls, two best friends. That's when the fight initiated. No.
I mean, yeah, that was what the defense said. The defense said, ladies and gentlemen, he's not apologizing for a shooting. He's apologizing for outing that he had a sexual relationship with Megan. He's apologizing for that. But the prosecutor went through this apology phone call line by line and really analyzed everything he said about, "I would have never done nothing like that. I was drunk." And at the end of the entire analysis, he asked the jury, "Do you really believe he's apologizing for outing some sexual act?" And he's like, "No, this is an apology for the shooting." So I thought it was pretty powerful the way the prosecutor analyzed it. He went line by line.
The prosecution's good. No, no, no.
Yeah, they went by line. And then if you add the apology text, now let me just say, each one of these pieces of evidence don't mean anything alone, but
Mm-hmm.
it's layering them. It's bringing them all together. Now the apology text to Megan, he bails out of jail. He sends Megan a text at about 9:00 p.m. Same thing, Megan. I know you never ever probably gonna talk to me again, but I was drunk. I was out my mind. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't, same pretty much the same apology that he gave to Kelsey in the phone call. He did it via text to Megan.
Right.
So same thing there.
Okay. I think that covers everything. I was wondering. Um, What's been your reaction? What have been your thoughts when you see the outrage on Twitter or online when people have said another black man, justice system failed another black man, or stuff like that. It says black folk uh, back. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I understand some of the outrage of seeing Tory Lanez found guilty on all three counts. I think the defense did a pretty good job at raising reasonable doubt in multiple areas of the evidence. I just think that they couldn't overcome Sean Kelly's testimony, and the jury saw it in a way that still follows the evidence. It's not like outlandish to believe that Tory Lanez shot her, but it's also a possibility that Kelly Harris did.
Right.
And I guess the way they looked at the evidence in the deliberation room, that the evidence weighed more towards him shooting him. And if you were Team Tory, I understand, and of course I understand the family's reaction. And I was leaning towards not guilty. I was leaning more towards not guilty. In fact, after Friday, after the DNA, after the GSR, I was definitely like this. There's enough reasonable doubt here. But then when Sean Kelly testified, he pretty much he killed all the momentum that the defense had, and he helped the prosecution win this case for sure.
Mm. Wow. I really think I already thought he was going to get off. It was surprising.
I thought the same thing. I thought he was going to get off as of Friday. I was like, this guy has readable doubt. I even I even said it to somebody. I was like, man, this case is looking good for Tory. But that was last week. I said it's looking good for Tory.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the second week came by, when Sean Kelly got up on the stand, Sean Kelly got on the stand on December 19th. That was Monday. Yeah. After Monday, I was like, oh man, Sean Kelly.
Yeah,
What did he do?
My people said, I feel sorry for us black men in America. They better have a field day on us.
And you know what's really interesting is
Mhm.
Sean Kelly was called by the defense, even though he
Right.
was called by the defense, but he turned out to be a prosecution witness.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because, each side has to give their list of witnesses that they're going to call. And perhaps the prosecution saw that they were going to call Sean Kelly, and they was like, all right, we're going to let the defense call Sean Kelly. And Sean Kelly ended up being a witness for the prosecution. I feel like the defense did a real good job on LAPD Detective Ryan Stogner. Ryan Stogner didn't do complete investigation on things. Didn't test for DNA for Kelsey. They didn't test for DNA. They only tested DNA for Tory.
Wow.
He didn't really do full interviews of Sean Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of things that Detective Stogner didn't do. I don't know if it was from incompetence or maybe they had enough information to say, you know what, Tory's the obvious shooter, so we're just going to build a case against Tory.
Yeah, or some lazy work. Like, hey, I just want to go home, like that. But with that being said, what you're saying, it seems enough. Like all this stuff that you're saying, it seems like this could be work for a I'm not. Well, not a retrial, but an appeal.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's going to be an appeal in this case for sure. One thing I was thinking what they can appeal on is the prosecution brought up so much information about bribes, but these bribes were never documented in any of the police's reports on this case. They only come through the witnesses, and that's Megan and Kelsey. And the police officers already had talked to these witnesses, and Detective Stockner has nothing in his report about $1 million bribe.
Wow.
Nothing about $1 million being offered. So I mean, there's quite a few different areas where I'm sure the defense attorney is going to try to base his appeal on.